As the League of Ireland's future prepared to take on Spain in the Under-17s European Championships, its present stars are back in action in the Premier Division as it hits the halfway mark for several teams. I'm joining Independent.ie to look ahead to the games with Danny McDonnell. And Dan, will start in Dalymount, where third place Bohemians take on sixth place Shels. And Damien Duff will probably expect a reaction from his Shels team, given how unhappy he was with them after last week's game.
Yeah, I mean, it was poor last week from Shels, and in a way probably poor from Bohs for the first half in Dundalk as well. They just got a bit of a response on the night in the second half. So yeah, it's I mean, a lot of these derby games, I mean, we have cliches about derbies that we use, and I don't know, do they stand when there's so many of them in the League of Ireland season? We've had some open and entertaining ones, and we've had some flat ones. I mean, Shels previously have got a win over Bohs. I think you might have been at that game in Talca. I don't think it was a great footballing spectacle at all. And it's just hard to know what to expect from this game. I feel like we've spoken a lot about consistency in this, but Shels have been reasonably solid. I mean, Duff speaking about 7 of their 11 goals they've conceded, I think, are dead balls. So in general play, they've been brilliant defensively. And Bohs last week were dreadful in the first half and got back into the game with 2 set pieces. So you can imagine you can craft a sort of an angle around that, because Bohs do have a great sort of dead ball threat. But yeah, I think for as much as Shels are looking for a reaction, which they naturally are, I still feel like there's a certain degree of pressure on Bohs in this game, because losing last week would have been 3 in a row. They avoided that. But they are in a little bit of a blip in the context of a season where everything had been going very well. And this is a home game against a weaker side in terms of, I suppose, certainly budget resources and quality of squad. So where are they going to go from here? Like, is this a game where they get back on the show? Because then all of a sudden, without a win in 4, and it just becomes a different discussion, as you know, and their momentum is completely lost going into the break. And Shels, I think, are generally a well enough organised side in general play that I think can make life very difficult for Bohs here. I feel like Bohs are going to have to go and take this game and win it. And if they start as passively as they did in the Dundalk last week, they won't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's another cliche, but an early goal for Bohs would change the game entirely. At the game at Talca, I mean, Shels kept them at arm's length so comfortably, and then just one bit of magic and it was 1-0, and Bohs didn't really threaten. So like an early goal would be a big thing for them. You mentioned Dundalk there; they're away to St. Pat's. Dundalk kind of blowing hot and cold really over the last few weeks, and Pat's having confirmed Jon Daly as their new manager. They'll be looking to, new manager bounce, I guess, after the caretaker manager bounce.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because I suppose that's the one thing that they're probably not going to get is that bounce. I mean, maybe they've had it already, but it's more of a continuity appointment now, rather than it being that buzz of like an opening night for a new manager. So it's slightly different. But I mean, it's a huge game, and I mean, Stephen O'Donnell is still gone back to Pats is still a big deal. I mean, it's still not all resolved there. So there's still a little bit of spice there. And yeah, I mean, Pats, like they grounded out in Talca. They defended well, having defended Purley and Tala previously. Dundalk, the vibe seems to be, just reading Stephen O'Donnell's comments, that they've finally got some of their players back. Greg Sloggett seems to be close. They've really missed him in midfield. They are just light enough in midfield. Some nice footballers, but just really miss a slightly more energetic presence. And a little bit more robust. Sloggett hasn't always been his reputation, but I think he's really improved in recent years, and they've missed him. Andy Boyle is a million miles away. They have a few players back, so I see this one being a pretty closely run game, to be honest. I mean, the Dundalk hammered Pats in Oriel the last time round, and that will have sickened Pats for a number of reasons, and a lot of the same people are still there. Obviously, Tim Clancy's gone, but the staff and the players are. So, that's where I'm going, and I'm looking forward to a good game.
Yeah, it should be a good game, all right. Derry obviously top of the league. They play Sligo on Saturday night. Shamrock Rovers, a chance to go back on top. The strange scenario of playing Cork, where Cork won last week and Rovers lost. Rovers be expecting a big bounce back, if you like, after that defeat to Drogheda. But Cork will have a little bit of confidence going into that, more so than they would have had, say, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like 4-4 the last time these sides met. I mean, I can't see it being like that again. No, Cork will have a little bit of confidence and played some nice football, by all accounts, in the Sligo Rovers game. But it's a weird one. You might think of Turner's Cross. It's a tough place to go because you imagine it a long trip and can be a hostile crowd. But I don't think this is a bad game for Rovers coming off the back of a defeat, to be honest. It's a good place to go and play. Cork aren't a team that defends particularly well. And I think Rovers, there's a certain type of contest where I wouldn't fancy them maybe off the back of a defeat. But I don't think Cork are particularly adept at making themselves a real difficult side to break down, the type of team that Rovers will be frustrated by. And I'd fancy them to find the space and the goals to win this.
Yeah, so that would obviously put them back top, though. They're putting 2 points clear of Derry. If they were to win that, and the final game of the night, draw to UCD, I mean, look, UCD are kind of marooned a little bit. It's not quite last chance saloon, but it's very hard to see them getting going. Draw to, have build on last week's win, I guess.
Yeah, the weird one for Drogheda, I suppose, is that they're brilliant at being the underdogs, but they've had a couple of tough games against UCD in recent memory, and it's almost like the role reversal where Drogheda are in a position where this is a game you have to go and win, and that hasn't always been their forte. But in saying that, like they are at home, and I still think, like we talk about, we praise Drogheda. That's not just about they're good at being the underdog, like backs against the wall. It's actually because they have some very good players as well, like Freddie Draper, a very good striker. Gary Deegan, an old school midfielder. There isn't too many of them in the league. Dale Rooney, very good. So yeah, UCD have to view this as a game. Like, they're not going to get too much. And the thing about UCD is that their points have mainly been at home, not away. Away, they've still found it difficult, and I probably still fancy Drogheda to get it done, but I don't think it's going to be straightforward.
Yeah, and just briefly down to the first division, Galway home to Athlone. Again, it's not quite saying the same thing every week, but the Athlone caused a few teams some problems, but it's hard to see anything beyond Galway stretching the lead with Waterford not playing.
Yeah, I mean, Athlone are like changing managers without even announcing them, and it's still a club that probably should do more on Athlone at some stage, because it's been a bit of a weird year there, to say the least. But yeah, Galway hasn't been a weird year, and they just keep winning. They keep relentlessly winning, and I mean, it's almost drama free, but I mean, that club has a singular focus. It's been out of the Premier Division for long enough, and yeah, it's hard to see them dropping too many points at their current momentum.
Absolutely. Should be an interesting night, nevertheless. Dan, thanks very much, and we'll speak to you after the games.
Thank you.